morning, everybody. Hi, my name is Barrett Laurie. I'm not only fabulous, but I run this channel. And I am so excited about today's interview. I can't even stand it. So oh boy, I did the amateur thing and left my phone on. Embarrassing, really embarrassing. But welcome. I'm so glad everyone's here. We're going to say a quick hello to everyone that's here early. Kelly Wright, who is my fabulous guest co-host on the Writeish Podcast, which we're going to be talking all about in just a little bit. Thanks for being here, Kelly. Shannon, you were first in the room, and I appreciate you for being here and welcoming everybody. Jennifer Brown, Chrono Yami, so good to see everybody. Amelia K, you know I love ya. Congratulations on flying to New York to get married in just 2 days, so can't wait for that. So excited for you. Same with Chris Kinney. Good to see you, my friend. You're on your way to get married very soon. And I'm going to pronounce this name wrong, so I'm just going to not even try. But popping in super quick to say hi. Unfortunately, I have a work call, so I'll catch on the replay. Thank you so much. Tell me how to pronounce your name so I can say it correctly. I want to. Dull Cecile Reno, good to see you this morning. I'm so glad you're here. Grayson Wild, thanks for being here. Suey, you know I love you. Thank you for popping in. So glad to see you. And Hannah Palmer, glad to see you this morning, everybody. Okay, I want to get to talking to Zara, so we're just going to get started. In my intro, Zara Hoffman is a self-published author, a student in NYU's Master of Science in Publishing program, graduated cum laude from NYU undergrad, and an agency intern for the Nancy Yost Literary. A self-proclaimed nerd, especially books and musical theater, Authortuber, podcaster, Ko-fi ambassador, and dog mom to the adorable Riley. Everyone, please make welcome my guest and friend, Zara Hoffman. How are you?
I'm good. I'm sorry. I just love that intro that you did for me.
I'm
very happy to be here.
I love to really embarrass my people with a little train on their way in. Good morning, Michael CB Chen. No riddles here today. My brain isn't on.
I don't know if I should tell you or if it's like waving a red flag in front of a bull that like you didn't embarrass me because I'm pretty sure I've said all those things in different intros of myself like across the internet. But I was like, I don't think I've ever seen it put together in this order. I was like, that's good.
You had so much stuff. Like I felt like your intro you sent me was just, there was more there. Like there was more beef to put on the bone. So I was just like, no, we need to add a little bit to this. So I'm so glad you're here. I love your own intro. So take a second to do your own wonderful intro for everybody and take it away.
My name is Zara Hoffman. I'm the self-published author of 6 books, a young adult paranormal romance trilogy and a new adult sci-fi romance trilogy. I am also the co-host of the Writeish Podcast with Kelly Wright, who is in chat. And I am perpetually doing creative stuff, writing novels, telling myself I'm going to film Authortuber videos, although I'm finally going to do that this month now that I'm on break. And people are convinced I don't sleep when, in fact, that's all I do when I'm not working.
I actually was under the impression you didn't sleep either, which is why I thought this is the perfect person to be my literary agent. But we'll get into that.
Oh, no. Later. I mean, once I'm a literary agent, I'm convinced I'm just going to have to set up an IV of caffeine. But like...
Until then. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, Kelly's got it correct. Nap queen. She knows because normally we'll be like co-working for like a few hours. I'll be like, okay, I finished my thing. I'm going to nap for an hour. And then she'll be like, you go nap, girl.
I wish I could nap. Kelly Wright, I'm jealous of that. I want the nap time. Well, here's the thing. I'm dying to get into it. We got a lot of ground to cover, so let's get started. So tell me about the first story you remember writing and who you shared it with and what was it about?
Okay. When you say writing, before you make me big, define writing. Do you mean me like actually writing or typing it myself, or can someone transcribing it count?
It can totally be transcribed. I'll give you mine first and then play off of this. So mine, I first remember telling a story in 5th grade. We got a prompt about Mickey Mouse, and I wrote a murder for hire story and got in trouble for it. So that for me is like what I'm looking for. Like how your first story.
You can, I got it. Yeah. I have 2 answers, so I'm ready. Okay. So the first story I remember telling that was then written down was standard captive princess dragon, except she becomes friends with the dragon and then the dragon lets her out and then they just have fun. So not standard. My mom wrote that down for me when I was like maybe 4. I think maybe 4 or 5. And then in 3rd grade, we had to write a book. And so I turned in 100 pages of a shameless Nancy Drew ripoff, and everyone else turned in like 20 pages.
I was going to say 100 pages? Like you had a middle grade novel, essentially.
I mean, it was like in manuscript format too, which So yeah, and I wrote a sequel, but that
I love this.
They're so shameless. Oh my God.
I'm obsessed with it. I hope there is a point in your future where you will maybe put that on Ko-fi, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, but like you could share some of that with us, and let us see the early one.
Never thought about that, but that could be interesting.
I think it'd be a ton of fun. Like for those of us that are your, people, I think I'd enjoy reading it at least. So, well, now that we know that, how about you tell me about the first book you remember reading that turned you into a reader?
So many. The first one I always go back to though when asked this question is The Golden Compass, which I should have brought over since I knew this was going to be a question. I have like all my favorite stories here. And
I don't think I'd noticed your bookshelf being put together. Like I remember the drama.
No, it like just suddenly appeared at the end of last week, dude. So okay, I'm looking at this and I'm realizing that I read books earlier than The Golden Compass, but the one that like made me into like a heavy reader is The Golden Compass, recommended to me by my older cousin who is 8 years older than me. It has a major motion picture.
Yeah.
Holiday 2007. I feel like I'm one of the few people in the world who actually liked the movie. Like there were things wrong with it, don't get me wrong, but I liked the movie.
Yeah.
And I liked parts of the show, but I couldn't stand the main actress who played the main character, which is a real big problem when it's like 8-hour-long episodes per season and there are 3 seasons. And like I got through the first season, but I couldn't bring myself to watch the other 2.
Yeah, I've only watched the film. I never started the series adaptation yet. I'm going to, but I
have problems that they So if you haven't read the book or seen the movie or watched the show, there's a gypsy group of people.
Mm-hmm.
And basically gypsy. Like they're not called that, but we all know that's what it is.
Right.
In the movie, I'm pretty sure there might have been some skin darkening makeup.
Ooh, okay.
Potentially.
I haven't watched it
now that I'm older.
So I should probably go back and rewatch that.
And that's not cool.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the show cast completely white people, and I'm like, why are you whitewashing and already like,
yeah,
So yeah. I have problems with both. But that's not the only problem. But yeah, but I do love the story, and I actually am thinking of doing a reread and doing a reading vlog for it.
That's fun.
I've never done a reading vlog on my channel before, but I want to do a reading vlog for this, which will be a lot of fun. And then there's another book that I told my therapist I was going to do a reading vlog, which will not be fun, but I think is very important. And my therapist was like, that's so brave. And I'm like, it's also the only way I'm going to read this book. So I was like, I need the public accountability.
I mean, I kind of like that you know that about yourself, though, because I have to know those things about myself, too, to keep myself in check and get the things done.
But then I had also read this, I'm weird, though. So there's a big chance that I read Howl's Moving Castle after I'd already read the mammoth that was The Golden Compass. It's called, by the way, Golden Compass is called Northern Lights Everywhere But America. But I love this book, and I love the Miyazaki film, but I didn't read any of the other books in this trilogy. I think it's a trilogy. So yeah, I don't know how like the official story ends, but I think at one point I got curious and I looked up on
cheated
like fandom or something, and it was like, oh, in the second book, blah 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 blah, and then in the third book, and I was like, yeah, that doesn't interest me. The thing is that's the first time that's ever happened, really, is that like if I'm gonna read something or watch something that I know I'm going to do no matter what because I'm interested in it, I don't mind hearing spoilers beforehand because I'm like it's the journey to get there.
Right. I'm kind of the same way. I was asked recently on a thing, do you ever skip to the end to read? And I have in certain stories just to make
I don't do that. I've actually never done that.
I have on a few just because I'm like, is this going to pay off? Like if I get a few chapters in and I'm like, ooh, where are we heading here? Sometimes I'll skip ahead to be like, am I going to waste another 7-8 hours.
What's a book you've done that for? I know this is an interview about me, but I'm dying.
No. I'll tell you. So, for instance, The Help was one where I needed to see the end, like, because I was like, I'm not sure I'm going to give this all of this. And then there are a few LGBT titles too, where, especially if it's traumatic at all, or if like I'm going on a traumatic journey, I need to know that at the end, where I'm going to be at the end.
Got it. Totally.
But I'll go back and read it, because like you, I need to know the in between. It's just sometimes I'm like, I just want to make sure this is going to end like I thought it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now, okay, we've talked the books. So tell me now about the writing. Who is the person that has encouraged your writing the most? And if so, like how? How have they done that?
I mean, my mom, because she's obviously been there from the start to still now. And she's going to be alive for a very long time. Like I've told her, I was like, you have to break the 92-year like threshold that seems to be like in the way of our family. And I was like, I want you to 100, but healthy and enjoying life at 100.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't want you like alive super long and being miserable, but like, I want you to reach 100.
Yeah.
So.
I like that answer. That's good. And I'm assuming that she will get all of the acknowledgments in all the books because of that.
She hasn't been acknowledged in every single book because I've been trying to spread the love around, but then the other answer is my grandma, and she passed away in 2011. And she actually, I don't think she ever got to read this, but so that's the dedication on my first book.
Oh, I love that.
I don't even remember who I dedicated my other books to, but I know they weren't all to my mom. Okay, so the second one was to a cousin of mine who passed away. The third one were to my grandma's younger brother and his wife.
Oh, yeah.
They died in summer 29. No. Is that true?
I'm so sorry.
Summer 2018, I think. Yeah. And they died within 24 hours of each other. Like they couldn't. And they were like holding hands, and it was just like crazy.
Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry.
And then this one, Authortuber friends. I swear I write these and then I don't remember. This one is specifically to Natalie.
Oh.
Because she helped a lot with writing the first one.
Yeah.
What did I do for the last one? Oh, that's the trigger warning. Oh, and then to Regina and Crow.
Yeah. Love that. Crow, you got your shout out. I love that. Just Eva says that's devastating, but also beautiful. And
100%. I mean, their sons who, were very sad, but at the same time, they were like, we didn't want one of our parents having to live in a world without the other. And I was like, oh my God, I want to cry all over again.
Wow.
So yeah, our family, they surpassed the 92, but it was just so it was, yeah.
Wow. Okay, so I am going to disorder our outline a little bit, so don't get lost if I get out of order, because I'm going to keep us in time blocks. But my last question I'm going to pull from this section is about the last book you read that you loved enough to recommend to someone. We'll come back to those other two in a later section.
Okay, sure. The last book that I just recommended, because I know I recommended a bunch of books to Sarah Sutton that were like enemies to lovers, because she's writing that trope for the first time. I was like, oh, I got you. And I like scrolled through my library on my phone. But the last book that I just recommended to people was anything by J.C. Lee, but especially the A Sweet Mess series. So J.C. Lee is spelled Jayci and then Lee, Lee. And she writes like Korean American rom-coms in that series. She has another series with Harlequin that's like just contemporary romance, and then apparently she's writing another series for Harlequin, because we chat a lot on Twitter, and I never thought that would happen, and I'm like very, very excited.
That's cool. I dig that. Well, now it is time to talk books.
Yes.
So let's talk books. So I'm going to read the blurb, and this is for Obscure Origin, which is the first book in Zara's sci-fi trilogy. So here is the blurb. Obscure Origin. They came in the dead of night. Verity knew something was wrong the moment she heard them land. It got worse when they took her hostage. Knox is on a mission to colonize Earth. What he doesn't expect to find is one human girl willing to fight him to save her planet. Discover a new universe of problems when the aliens land in Zara Hoffman's debut sci-fi novel, Obscure Origin, Book 1 of the Stellar Blood trilogy. So what was the hardest part about writing the trilogy?
The world building. It's something that, while Regina and Crow insist that I do a good job on, it's something that, like, it's kind of a second-hand thought for me when I'm writing my stories. It's like, oh, I need something here. But in this case, I actually tried to force myself to do stuff in advance. So I knew the differences between the alien races and the differences between humans and aliens because of stuff that I was building up to in the later books. So yeah, world building was the hardest part.
And that's funny because I actually would agree with them that as a reader, that wouldn't have been the thing. I would have assumed it would have been maybe, figuring out or at least for me, the thing about sci-fi that always catches me up is I have a hard time figuring out like how I wouldn't slip back into now, like when I'm writing.
I cheat. So here's the thing: is that with the magic in the Belgrave Legacy and the aliens in the Stellar Blood trilogy, they're both like now. So it's like, even though, like, paranormal versus just fantasy,
Yeah.
It's, you can have it in our world as much as you want. And then I did the same thing with sci-fi. Instead of going full space opera or full futuristic or full dystopian, where it's like you can't have any, like, go back to now type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to say I cheated. I know that's not true. Like, I put in the work and I made the story, but it's like, it's not like I was 100% diverging from what we know.
Yeah.
So
it was, I get that. So it's grounded in the here and now. So that helps. It just looks scary to me who's never done it. As I read it, I just think, oh, I could not do this. So what inspired the idea? Where did the idea come from?
I just had a dream, which sounds so freaking cheesy, but it's how I got the start for this. I mean, actually, this was a scene that how do I say this? I'd had a dream before my grandma died. And then the day that she died, a scene just came to me about Thanksgiving. And I know that's not what you asked about this one. No. But that was like one of the first scenes in here. And then I had a dream. That's the first scene in here, wake up, aliens are outside, fight ensues. I know that she gets kidnapped. Like,
yeah, that sort of covers it. Doll says most of my ideas come from dreams. And I'm going to say same. I keep a dream journal. So that is not cliche or weird to me. Like, I keep a journal by my bed. First thing I do when I wake up is conscious dream.
My notes app. Generally, I'm good at like organizing them in folders after, once I like add a title or I'm like, oh, this is part of a series again. But it's like, sometimes it's just sitting there and I'm like untitled and I stare at that. I'm like, you're mocking me. I have the idea, but I don't have a title yet. Normally they come pretty close together, but if it's a dream, sometimes I don't like have the title when I wake up.
Yeah. So before, because this is not one of the questions I gave you, but it's an easy one. So
you can go off script.
Good. I figured we could. But one of the things I loved about the book is, and I think I messaged you this. If I didn't, I'm surprising you with it now. But Eva can tell you this because she beta read my book I queried. Verity is one of the names in my story.
Yes, you did tell me that.
So I want to know where the name came from for you, or like where that name was from. And then also, are there any characters in this that are inspired by real people? And I'm curious, just having read it.
Okay. Verity 100% just came to me. Like, I woke up and I was like, her name is Verity. Like,
I spent months researching names to find that one.
I'm sorry.
No, I loved it. I mean, I loved it. It was just like, what?
And when and then I was like, oh, I remember there was like, and I hadn't read it, but Codename Verity. Like, I hadn't read that and I looked it up. I was like, is this something I want to have a connection to?
Mm-hmm.
Or whatever. And I was like, yeah, it's fine. So I kept that. Anyone in here? I mean, the villain is probably an amalgamation of people who I had to deal with at way too young an age. Hello, trauma. And then...
But not one specific, like kind of a mixture of personalities.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. Is there... Yeah, again, even with, Ben, I would say that, like, I was going to say he's one person, and then I was like, no, actually, I don't think so. I think he's, like, a combo of my guy friends from high school.
Yeah.
And, like, the dad is just, like, my imagination of, I don't know, maybe I based him on, like, Leroy Jethro Gibbs from NCIS. Like, some type of AU.
How did I know?
There was one throwaway line in a very old NCIS episode where it's like, oh, Gibbs has clearance to empty the dead aliens at Area 51. And then someone else is like, because he probably killed them. And I was like, so I'm sure that was in the back of my mind while I was writing, but I didn't think about it until just now. So yeah, the answer is there's not one person who's like just in here. Though, like, my mom is basically Stella in this trilogy, but other than that, I don't think I've ever had a one-to-one correlation of a real life person to a character in any of my books.
That's interesting. I love all of that. That makes sense. I am curious that we've been friends this long and I never found out that you also liked NCIS. Like that I feel
that's a crime.
But I feel like somehow we missed something important in our relationship.
I know. Well, now we can make up for it.
Yeah. Eva, I see your question. It's wonderful. And I'm adding it to our section talking about in a little bit. So we will circle back to it because that's a good one. So let me ask you this. Is there a character in your book that's your favorite and why are they your favorite? And it could be any of the books. It doesn't have to be from this series.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember character names, which is so bad.
The author who's on to the next book, who's like,
I know. Wow. It's like, okay. I mean, I love Ivy in the Belgrave Legacy. She's the trilogy, Belgrave Legacy trilogy. She is in all three books. But she's the best friend in the Belgrave Legacy, and then her book is Unmoored. I don't know. I just really like her. Like, yeah. She seems like she'd be fun to hang out with, and she's like the tough love friend, but also the like, he broke your heart, I'm gonna go kill him type of like friend, like ride or die. Yep. And at the time of me writing those books, I didn't have a friend like that. So she was like,
who is that person for you now?
I mean, now it's obviously Kelly, but
I figured, but I was just curious if that would be the answer. So speaking of the Belgrave Legacy series, tell us a little bit about that. So what was the origin of those stories?
Right. So the Belgrave Legacy is very much about the fact that this girl is the 7th generation witch in her family. So family is very important to her. So that came out of the dream that I had the night before my grandma died. And I woke up being like, I have to see my grandma. Like, I'm skipping school, Mom. Like, I don't care what you say. I'm skipping school. And we're on the way to see her. And the doctor calls and it's like, you guys should get over here. And we're like, we were already coming. Because my mom is also psychic. And my grandma has been psychic. And so like it, and her mom had instances. So basically, like, I obviously took it to like a more fictional, fantastical level. But I just, that dream and then the scene that I had come to me when we were all back at my mom's place, like after my grandma had died, and it was just us family, like all being very quiet and stuff. It was like, that's what it came from. But then as I was writing the story, the secondary characters were like, we need our own books, which is how the second and third book came around.
I love that. So here's a question for you. Oh, first of all, let me just say to everyone here, the links to all of the books that Zara has available now on Amazon are in the description box below, including all the ones we're talking about and a short story collection that's connected to one of the series. So check out all of those in the description box below and buy them, people. But we're going to talk about another.
I just remembered I have cut scenes from these books up on my Ko-fi page.
Do you really?
Too. Yeah, locked at a certain tier.
Okay, when I get on break, I may have to dig in there and dig deep. So let me say this, though, to everybody out there. Check out the books for sure. You're going to enjoy them. I want to remind everybody, if you read them, review. I have not done my reviews yet. I'm going to do them over break. But you will get
so bad at writing reviews. I need to go through all the books of Authortuber.
I keep a list.
All of Sarah Sutton's and all of Jesse's. Yeah. I don't think I've reviewed a single Jet. Oh, no, that's not true. I think I reviewed the first two of Jesse's Charlie Travesty books, but I don't think I reviewed the rest. So, yeah.
I mean, it's like we do the best we can. I'm going to real quick ask a few of these questions that popped up because they fit in this section we're coming into. So Amanda Newman asks, and I love it, who was your favorite character to write? Who was the hardest to write? Like, whose head did you hate being in?
Yeah, sure. In a weird way, my favorite character to write was Caleb. I swear, my brain is just moving faster than my mouth today, and normally that doesn't happen. Anyway, my favorite character to write was Caleb because he was just so complicated in the Belgrave Legacy. And by comparison, Fawn was a lot simpler. And then the one that was hardest for me to write within the Belgrave Legacy was Zelda, who's the female character from the third book, Taming the Alpha. I don't know why. I would have thought that it would have been very easy for me, but I think because I knew Dylan more, the guy in that book, it was like, I don't know, it was harder because she was a newcomer in a way, to get attached to her.
Yeah.
And then in the Stellar Blood trilogy, there are only 2 points of view because it's one story across 3 books instead of 3 different linked stories. So I guess I liked Knox and Verity's point of views equally. I think there's some pretty upsetting scenes that happened to Verity that were very hard to write, in which case I was like, I don't want to be in her point of view, but like, I can't write this from Knox's point of view.
Right.
But other than that, it was like, no, I felt pretty at ease with both of them.
Yeah. Well, so the first question I'm going to ask, and I'm going to pull Eva's in between. So what made you decide on self-publishing?
I had done a lot of research, and something I don't talk about a lot is that this book went through. I have talked about how this book was initially 3 books on its own. It was going to be its own trilogy and stuff, and that I had to rewrite them to make it into one. And that I had written the other 2 books in it to whatever. But I don't think I've ever publicly said it, that the first book in this trilogy was initially not called The Belgrave Daughter, but it was called Seventh Heaven before I knew it was a TV show. And I queried it to a friend of mine's literary agent friend, and I'd gotten a very nice rejection, and it wasn't a form rejection. And, it was basically like, take more time, and that was fine. And I was really considering that, but when I was in high school, I just was doing more and more research in all my spare time. And I was like, I think I could do this. I think I can do this myself. And I don't know, like once I realized that, I was like, I want to. Yeah. So, yeah.
I love it. So I'm going to ask Eva's question because I think it's a wonderful follow-up to it. What is the least favorite? Actually, I'm first going to ask, what's your favorite part of the indie writing publishing journey? And then let's do your least favorite part.
Okay. Favorite part. This is going to sound so bad. Talking with cover artists, like getting the cover.
Yeah.
Because my answer is not writing, but honestly, that's my favorite part that like doesn't exist in the traditional.
Exactly. That'll never be something I'll get to do.
And then my least favorite part is probably looking at the sales dashboard. It's like, I know that I don't put enough marketing behind my books because I have this little thing called school that's always been in the way.
And work.
High school, undergrad, grad school, internships. I love all of those things, but it's like I can't put the marketing behind it like other people on Authortuber have been able to. So I always remind myself of that when I look at my sales dashboard. But yeah, that's my least favorite part.
But don't you think you're building the foundation though? You're putting the books together, you're getting the backlist so that when you are done with school and you can give this your full focus, you already have 2 series behind you, and anything you do in the future is just going to build off of those, right? So it's
yeah,
a good
I wouldn't be able to stop writing if I tried.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm doing this for me, knowing that some people out there in the world will like them, but now I can name people who like these books in a way that I couldn't before I started my Authortuber journey. So
Eva asks, do your professors and school peers know you're an indie published author? Have they read your stuff?
Yes, and I have no idea, nor do I want to know.
Okay. Interesting.
I mean, my classmates in my grad school program read them and told me maybe I'd be okay unless they didn't like them, in which case I'd be like, please just don't tell me that you've read my book if you don't like it. But I really don't want to know if my teachers like they know. I didn't exactly hide it, but at the same time, it's like, I was like, these are the 6 books I've written. Here are the titles, and this is where you can find them.
I mean, I don't know. I might be so curious just to be like, what did you think? But it would be hard. So what has so we talked a little bit about marketing. What's your most effective form of marketing for the books so far?
Apparently it's just talking about them on live streams.
Yeah.
And like while I'm making friends, just being like,
Well, let's say you're talking to somebody who's saying, hey, Zara, I might consider self-publishing. What would you tell them? What would be your advice? What would be your wisdom that you pass on?
Do your homework. Don't pay a company to do it all for you. So like, don't pay BookBaby. Don't pay, what was it? Author Universe. And there was one other that like we're in the news all the time is basically being scams. It was iUniverse and Authors something, whatever, those 2. If you look them up, I'm sure you'd find them. And like do print on demand. So do I mean Ingram Spark, they charge you every time you have to do a revision. So unless you're like dying to have a hardcover with a dust jacket, don't do Ingram Spark. Like stick with the paperbacks on KDP print. And they now have hardcovers, but there's no dust jacket, which to me is like, that's why people want hardcovers. So
I know, I ordered it and it came and I was like, oh, it's like on the...
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't what
I don't think many people are using that. So I understand that if people want a hardcover dust jacket, they should do it. I mean, the one for Charlie Travesty, like the first, so Jessie and her co-author, they were doing them in Kindle Unlimited and on normal Kindle for each like serial episode, but then they put all 4 of them into one book, and this is there's a dust jacket, it's pretty, and it's like this is high quality stuff, and they did this on the inside. Like you can't do this through KDP, and I understand that, but otherwise I know we all love to hate Amazon, but honestly they do it best for the best price. And by best price, I mean like free. Like you don't even have to pay for an ISBN. But if you really want to make this a business, I would recommend you buy your own ISBN so that it doesn't say, what is it? Amazon Publishing Services or something now. It used to say like Create Space, but that's no longer a thing. Yeah. So like now mine say ZH Press. And, it's just a little bit extra thing. Yeah. And so do things for free. Obviously. Oh, and like don't design a cover or format your own book if you can't do it well. Like I've taught myself how to do book formatting, and it's a service I offer, and I use the industry standard, like publishing industry standard stuff. So like I know what I'm doing, but I know that I could maybe teach myself how to make a cover on Photoshop. I'm never going to be as Like it's not worth it for me to become as good as I would want to be or need to be when I could pay Keelan Rivers to make a beautiful cover for me.
Right. Well, and that's someone else's skill set, right? Like that would be the same way. I'd be like, hey, I'm going to let someone else expertise take
Keelan Rivers or Brooke Passmore.
Yes.
Other Authortubers who I know.
Yes, and totally great at both. So tell me this, what has been your best investment in your publishing empire, and what's been your worst? What's the one thing you said, ooh, I'd never do that
again? My worst was an editor who didn't catch anything. I paid a good amount of money to him.
Did you review? Did you go back and be like a little review so people knew to watch out? Is that a thing? Do people do that, or is that taboo, I guess?
I felt weird about doing it. I just told people. I was like, don't go to this editor. Then my best was best money spent. I mean, again, for someone who loves writing and has aphantasia, the fact that I keep going back to the visual stuff is surprising. But the cover, meeting my cover artist for these books, because she did the cover for The Matchmakers, which is my nano project, which is probably going to be the next book that comes out. Sorry for people who are waiting for Kingpin Killers, but I'm still outlining that baby. 100 chapters, and I think I'm at chapter 60 or something. So, it's a thriller. So some of the chapters are short, but it's they're a lot, you know what I mean? So anyway, she's just so amazing, and she takes what you say and just turns it into magic. And she's been after these books, I'm pretty sure she's been booked consistently 2 years out. I found her before she kind of blew up. She designed a cover for Gina Showalter, who yay, and has done stuff for Wendy Higgins. So she's done stuff for traditionally published authors, who then hire her to become their cover artist for books that they publish. So it's she's legit.
Yeah. This question from Doll I'm going to ask because we're to the point where if you want, you can do a reading. So you can decide if you want to or not. But I think Doll's question's an interesting.
I don't think my brain and my mouth are working well enough in tandem this morning for me to actually do a reading.
Okay. I always throw it out there as an option, but it's up to the author if they want to or not. But I love this question from Doll, and it doesn't quite fit in this section, but I want to put it up while I know she's in the audience.
Sure. You managed to share so openly that you and your family have some special spiritual skills. What's the balance of what we can share? I mean, I don't say what the things are that we've predicted. Because what my grandma predicted was similar to what I predicted for her. And I've predicted some happy things, but most of what I predicted haven't been happy in dream form. And then I have a clairaudience, which means I hear things before they happen. So I heard my mom having a very long conversation with someone, and I was like, oh, so when are you seeing them? It's how do you know that? And I was like, you just got off an hour-long phone conversation with them, because I have freakishly good hearing, which Kelly can tell you. But she was like, no, I didn't. I just texted them that we should hang out. And I was like, oh, well, when's that happening?
Wow.
So I've heard things before they happen, and I've had the dreams. And then also Kelly has this more than anything, even more than me, where it's just clairsentience, where you just know something, and it's your gut feeling, but it's more than that type of thing.
Yeah.
I have that, but it's more the clairaudience for me as the main Yeah.
Doll says fellow clairaudient. So yeah. And real quick, while Doll's in the audience, I'm just going to shout this out one more time. And I do not have the link here. So if any moderators are out there and have it, Robert Jones, the story detective, is doing a fundraiser for Doll Cecile Runo. We are trying to send her a computer that he has set up for her. And the shipping is ridiculous. So there's a GoFundMe that he started. Robert, myself, Spence, Michelle Schusterman, a bunch of people have donated. So get out there and donate whatever you can. We know it's a tough time of year, Christmas and stuff, but we're really trying to get that computer to Doll. So if any of my mods have that link, drop it for me. If not, I'll add it after the fact in the description box. So just shouting that out real quick. Sorry to take a second from you for that. We are going to quickly shift gears into a topic that you could talk about endlessly, and I love you for it. Time to talk about Ko-fi.
Yay.
So, okay, my first question and where this comes from is I was on Lisa Daly's stream a couple of weeks ago, and they were talking about Patreon. Actually, I was in the audience for that one. But they were talking about Patreon and Ko-fi, and they were comparing the two, and everybody on the panel only had Patreon. And several of us in the audience were like, you need to talk to Zara Hoffman. Like, she knows the Ko-fi situation. So let's make this section the little where I can point Lisa Daly to and be like, see, here's what she knows. You need to have her on so she can talk about it. So let's do that now. So how does one become a Ko-fi ambassador?
You get asked. I did not set out to revamping my Ko-fi page in 2021 to get invited. I didn't know that it was a thing. When I had signed up for my Ko-fi page, 2015, no, that's not true. They were founded in 2017. So I must have created one like almost immediately.
Yeah.
And then just never used it. I had a rough time in undergrad. So that's probably one of the things that fell by the wayside among many, many other things. But I don't think that existed back then. So it wasn't even like if I like really ramp up, maybe I'll get to join. I didn't know it existed. But yeah, that's the short answer. You get invited. It's like a VIP club.
That's interesting. I'm going to correct because Doll was on that panel and she's right. She mentioned it, but as far as like the deep dives was really for Patreon. So yes, thank you, Doll, for keeping me in line and in check on that one. So like once you're an ambassador, what do you do? Like, what is your role as an ambassador?
I mean, our responsibility, but it's also like our joy, which is why we clearly got asked to join in the first place, is to talk about Ko-fi like far and wide. But we're also part of an ambassador only Discord server where we get access to this wish list where we can be like, here's a feature we would like, and like upvote other people's features that we also want the team to pay attention to. We can directly ask the team questions. We can ask each other questions. We get every Tuesday in my time zone. They're all the whole team is in England, so for them it might be Monday.
Yeah.
But they're like, happy Tuesday, ambassadors. Here's our product call list for the week. This is no guarantee that these things are going to be live, anytime soon, but this is what we're working on or whatever. So we know what's in the pipeline, even if we don't know the order of like when things are going to come out.
Yep.
We get to test out features before they go live to everyone else. So what they've been doing is they have a feature. They select a few Ko-fi ambassadors who they know like would really use it. So like they didn't pick me for the comic book gallery layout because I wasn't uploading a lot of visual things to my Ko-fi for a while.
Okay.
But I did get access to the tiers early on because it was one of the things I'd been pushing for this whole time, where I was like, look, I want to be able to convert the entire Authortuber community to Ko-fi, but I know some of them have, Patreons with tiers, and I can't do that until Ko-fi has tiers.
Yep.
So they gave me early access to the tiers. And then some features, they're like, okay, some ambassadors, all ambassadors, then gold, then everyone, and others just go from the all ambassadors to everyone. But basically, we just get first crack at everything, and we get to keep throwing ideas into the giant hat that like will probably never be empty because we just keep coming up with ideas.
Yeah, well, and you're going to always find ways to improve. So if you're talking to someone who has a Patreon, I have neither, but let's say someone has a Patreon and they're like, okay, what's better about what's your pitch for like what makes Ko-fi so superior? And I'm gonna give you full screen to really write.
No. Okay. Ko-fi is better than Patreon for many reasons. The first is that they don't take any money from your tips. So where Patreon can charge you up to $20 a month, taking from your tips that people are giving you and assuming it all goes to you, that doesn't happen on Ko-fi. It all goes to you, minus the like whatever percentage that Stripe or PayPal takes, because that's how they give you your money through there. Second, you can have your shop there, so you don't need an Etsy, which like will eat up 40% of your like income, which I just learned because Kelly's sister-in-law was like, oh, I don't want to set up an Etsy because of blank. And I was like, I had no idea. So you avoid that. And I'd been saying it's like an Etsy shop in the same place as your tip jar this whole time. But now I know that Etsy takes that much money from you. It's like even better for Ko-fi. And then you can have commissions on there, which I do.
Right.
Where people hire you for stuff and you can say whatever that is. And that's like Fiverr. But again, it's all in one place. So if you keep sharing your one link around the internet, you get better SEO, which helps you rank higher, which gets you more attention. And it's all in one place. And it's like, and it's like a blog, and you can paywall things if you want to encourage people to actually pay you and join your tiers and things like that. But I recommend everyone get a website with your own URL if you can, because that is really the gold standard still. But other than that, like you could grab a Ko-fi for free, and that's it. They do take 5% of your commissions and shop sales if you do not have Ko-fi Gold, which is $6 a month, which is so much less than what Patreon and Etsy apparently do on the regular. So
that's wild, like percentages. So Doll says Stripe, is it Stripe or Strip? Stripe, I guess, is very restricted regarding locations. I can't have a Stripe account because I live somewhere outside the country list. So that's interesting to keep in mind too. But for folks probably in North America, I'm betting they have access to Stripe.
Yes. And then also, I think PayPal's pretty universal. So if you don't need to set up both Stripe and PayPal.
And one or the other.
You can do one or the other. I set up both just to give everyone as many options as they want, but you don't need to set up both. Pro and Regina both have Ko-fis because of me, and I have a Ko-fi coaching service.
Wonderful.
So it was a hour and a half because I wasn't feeling well. I felt really bad, and Regina was like, "You don't feel well. You gave me more than enough." But it's I think I did $200 2-hour like video chat where I write up all the notes so you can have what I said to do for your page like written down with screenshots that include how to do it. And it's like, I am going to be coming out with a guide for how Ko-fi can be used for writers like us, because it is a predominantly visual creator platform.
Yep.
And that's going to be like $3, but it's not personalized. And I know a lot of people have different needs and things like that. You know, some people are going to be like, I don't have any books published. So like, what do I do with my shop? You know, versus Regina, who has like
a lot of books.
Over 40 books.
Exactly. A lot of books. I'm dying to have Regina on next year because I'm like, I got to read some of your stuff first, but I couldn't believe it. When I went to her website, I was like, how do you have some of your prolific?
Kelly and I are interviewing Regina this Sunday, and we're
You beat me to it. That's okay. I'm going to get Regina on here next year. Don't you worry. But here's what two things I wanted to hit on with Ko-fi before we move on. So number one, the thing I noticed about your Ko-fi that's kind of interesting, it sort of serves like a newsletter too, right? Like when you're doing certain things, you hit us, like I get an email, kind of like a newsletter would, that directs me to like, oh, we're on Twitch right now. Oh, we're on YouTube, or you know what I mean? Whatever
so I post.
That's really important too if you don't want to manage
and also people can follow you on there for free without donating, so it is really like it's better than Facebook, which constantly buries your page in news feeds for other people unless you pay for ads.
No secret, I'm only on Facebook for the CGL group. that's it. Otherwise,
I'm on Facebook for my cover artists group, and I'm in the CGL group, and I always forget to check.
No, that's okay. That's okay. It's okay. I'm just saying, like, I would not be on it. You know what I mean? Just
yeah.
Same thing. I don't think the algorithm is very friendly to pages.
And it's less annoying than, like, when you turn on all notifications for tweets from someone on Twitter, it's like you get this in your inbox, you know that it's there, whatever. I do also have a newsletter where I kind of write like a short essay about each area of my life, where it's like, here's work, here's writing, here's normal life, and here's the podcast. Like, those are my 4 categories. But basically all my more day-to-day updates are on Ko-fi, and I use it because Instagram was giving me a lot of problems at the start of the year, hiding me, not letting people message me. It was very weird. Kelly can tell you. She was there for every single, like, you're back, you're gone, you're back. I was I don't know what's happening. So, well,
I'm going to throw this out. The Ko-fi link is in the description box below. Be sure and check it out. I am a supporter, so you should join me and do that. And here's one of the things I wanted to bring up about what I got off of Ko-fi. So I love signed copies. And so over on Ko-fi is it $13? Is it $12.99 or something like that? $15?
I think it's $12.
$12. A minimal amount, friends. You too can get your book personally signed by the author. So what are you doing with your life? You can buy it on Amazon, you can, or you can go to Ko-fi and get a signed, personalized copy. That's how I roll.
It's $12.99. You were right with the 13 guess. I put these up so long ago that it's like I point everyone there, but when I'm focused on with updating the Ko-fi, it's like, oh my God, did I remember to post the latest picture from my audiobook narrator?
Well, and so this last question is more of a nudge, nudge, wink, wink. So are you going to create content on your YouTube channel about Ko-fi?
Yeah. Yes. I am going to make a video about it that is Patreon versus Ko-fi. I am going to make a video version of my Ko-fi guide for writers, which will be less in depth than the guide.
Yeah.
Sorry. I do want people to buy the guide.
No, totally. I do too. Yeah.
And then, which is obviously a lot less in depth than what the Ko-fi coaching would be. Right. I am going to be making videos about that. I have so many ideas for videos that have been like sitting and are planned in multiple stages that I just couldn't do while I was in grad school for the semester.
No, that makes perfect sense. I'm going to real quick let everyone know. So I want to throw out one more thing. For those that don't know Zara's game over on the channels, runs a lot of writing sprints. For anyone in the chat that's interested in joining Zara for some writing sprints, I didn't even ask if I could throw this out there, but for any of my people that I know are great guests on those sorts of things, like Shannon, St. Houston, or Ben Pick, Running to Write, or any of these folks that might be interested in looking for opportunities to join Zara for a writing sprint stream. They're a lot of fun. They're early in the morning. So if you want to get things done early and like get your day going the right way, reach out to Zara. The link to Instagram is in the description box below. Hop into her DMs and she will connect with you about how you can get signed up for the writing sprints. You will find me on writing sprints with her at least twice a month because I get so much done.
Tomorrow morning is one of them.
By noon, I know. Is it tomorrow morning?
Yeah.
It's Friday? Okay, yeah. Yeah. Friday morning at 8 my time, 8 your time.
8 my time.
7 my time. Glad you said that because I would have been an hour late. So we'll be putting that in the calendar differently. But I'm glad we brought it up. So here's what we're going to do. I threw that out there. So folks, go check the Instagram and reach out if you're interested in joining for some writing sprints. It's a lot of fun. You'll get a lot done. You'll also network and meet a lot of cool other writers because it's always a fun panel.
I joke that it's like speed dating for Authortube friends. Because at the end of my streams, people will be like to each other, they're like, it's so nice meeting you. And there'll be people who've been on my channel like 3 times. And I'm like, oh yeah, I never had you on at the same time.
Yes, 100%. I have met so many great folks through that connection. So Stephanie says, I made a Ko-fi a while ago, but haven't touched it in a long time. And St. Houston says, I haven't paid for the app. Oh, the Forest app. It's a lot of fun. It's great. Good morning, Morgan and Ben Pick. I didn't say hello to you all when you came in. They are also starting a new podcast. We are going to be talking about Zara's podcast on the other side of Rapid Fire because I'm going to quickly do the Rapid Fire question section.
Okay, wait. I got to grab water or I'm not going to be able to
do it. Get some water, and I'm going to set it up for everybody. So here is how this works, friends in the audience, if you're new. I am going to ask Zara some questions a la James Lipton in the Actors Studio, where we just kind of ask a series of kind of short word answer questions. You are more than free to answer along with us in chat, and we will circle back to see what your answers are to the questions below. Michael C.B. Chen says, Zara, 8 my time. Barrett, 7 my time. Me, where am I? Is this a riddle? Because unfortunately, I don't get it, Michael C.B. Chen.
So normal.
Yeah, exactly. It's my basic. So I'm going to put this up on rapid fire, and you just tell me whenever you're ready, and I'm going to start. Okay. And if you want to pass, please feel free to pass, right? So if there's one you're just like, nope, then just say pass. So number 1, what is your greatest fear?
Heights.
What is your biggest regret?
Not standing up for myself more in situations where I absolutely had the right to.
Yeah. What would your friends say is your best trait?
Oh God, Kelly, can you answer in the chat?
Kelly,
probably how supportive I am.
Encouraging. That's what I would have said.
Yeah.
What name would you give yourself if not Zara?
Oh, I don't know. I might just totally steal my namesakes and go for Zeta if I couldn't be Zara.
Ooh, I kind of love that. What annoys you the most?
Self-righteous, hypocritical people. If you fall into either or both of those buckets, I'm not a fan.
Not going to be a fan. What word do you hate?
Kelly says my best trait is that I'm reliable. So.
No, that's very true. That's 100% true. What word do you hate?
Like the sound?
It can just be a word. For me, the word is always no, because I hate the word no. I live with it, but no one likes to hear it. So that's always the one I say. But it can be anything. I mean, people say the word moist.
I think I hate the word just, because it's always someone minimizing something.
Yep.
And
I love that answer, actually. That's really deep. So what word do you love?
Darn it. Believe.
Yeah, I love that one. Okay, do you have a favorite curse word?
I don't think I have a favorite. The one that I use the most is the F word.
Don't we all? It's so versatile. What can always make you smile?
Musical theater or my dog.
Yeah, I figured Riley would be in there. When you're at your happiest, where are you?
With my dog. Like I don't, it doesn't really matter where. I mean, preferably not somewhere that we're like freezing or like boiling hot, but you know, somewhere that's comfortable with my dog.
Who can always talk you off a ledge?
Kelly.
Morning
You're
person?
My therapist.
That's fair. Morning person or night owl?
I mean, honestly, more a morning person than I ever thought I'd be. I used to be a complete night owl, and then the panini pancake panorama changed that.
Yeah. What one word best describes you?
Enthusiastic.
What sound soothes you?
Ocean. Or water, you know, not like water. A dripping water faucet, but like ocean or river, natural bodies
like waves.
Of water.
Yeah, me too. I agree with that. That's very calming to me too.
We all need a Kelly SC.
Yes, 100. Who is your harshest critic?
Me.
What would be your superpower if you could have any?
To stop time for everyone but me.
Oh, see, you did great. That was it. See, it's not even half as spooky as I think people think it is when they're like, wait a minute, it's time. And I'm like, yes.
No, I'm not worried about the thing, but it's just like sometimes where it's like, what's your favorite word? I was like, do I even think about this? No, the answer is like, I've never thought about this.
I know.
Which is weird because my grandma definitely would have had an answer because she like would read the dictionary for fun. She's the one who taught me all the grammar.
How on brand is this for Robert Jones? Yesterday to which word is your least favorite? Well, all words are useful. I was like, that is the most Robert Jones thing to like so on brand.
I haven't seen him in forever because I haven't been able to stream with Glory and tell him in a while. Yeah,
he's good. He's good. He's, you know, again, had a tough year, fibromyalgia, you know, having a tough year, but doing okay. But I think he's coming back strong in the new year. So I'm looking forward to that. Regret, changing my personality to suit others. Yes, Stephanie Whitson, 100%. Best trait, listener. I can see that. And I'm with you on heights. Oh, Crystal, I am so with you here. Literally is my most hated word because my 16-year-old says it every 3 words or so. My god niece kind of does the same thing, where I get literally a lot in a phone conversation. I get off the phone and I'm like, a lot of that wasn't actually that literal. Like, just so we're clear, it's sort of like ironic being used not right, and that bothers me. But she's 12, 13 or so it's like too soon to be annoying about it. Stephanie says, annoys me the most, liars and loud chewing. And Shannon says, like. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to switch to now talking about the Writeish Podcast, which I'm so excited about. I have loved listening. It's a lot of fun. You guys recently hit 500 downloads, which is
I know.
so major. That's exciting. So tell me about the origin. Like, where did the idea come from? Obviously, you and Kelly were like talking things out, and we're like, hey, let's try this thing. Tell us the story. Take us behind the scenes.
Kelly, as usual, messaged me on Instagram and was like, so I have a crazy idea. And I was like, oh, great. This is always how it starts. Okay, so let me back up a bit. I don't know if I'm assuming everyone here knows, but if you don't, Vlog Brothers, John and Hank Green, who are now both authors, but at the time that it started, only John Green was an author. And they started the organization DFTBA, Don't Forget to Be Awesome, and every year they have this thing where people can make a video for their organization that they want the money fundraised by DFTBA to go to. So it gets divvied up. Mm-hmm. I think it used to just go to one, but now I think it gets divvied up among the ones that get the most votes or whatever. Anyway, every year, if you donate to certain things at certain times when different YouTubers are hosting the very, very long stream, you can get a perk from them. So I had gotten a perk one year called Brother of John Pod, because Dear Hank and John is a podcast that they have. And then the Super Carlin brothers, who had taken the Vlog Brothers challenge forever ago to have a conversation between two people, and again, it's two brothers, where each of them uploads a video to a YouTube channel, and then the next day the other person makes one in response, or whatever, back and forth. So the older brother in that case is also named John. So the younger brothers, Hank for John Green and Ben for the Carlin brothers, had a podcast, and they were both like, maybe it's because we're the younger brothers, but we're the ones who are always like calling up, texting, messaging our older brother John to be like, here's a crazy idea. And then John is like, no. So that's kind of my relationship with Kelly. We're both the same age. She's a few days, maybe she's almost 2 weeks older than me, not a few days.
2 weeks.
But she's the one who's always messaging me, and she's able to be a little bit more dreamy than I can right now, just because I have school. And if I started dreaming, I'd never come back down. So she messaged me on April 2nd, where she was like, so I have a crazy idea. And I was like, okay, hit me, because I'm just used to it. And we've agreed that like I'm going to become her agent probably, and I'm going to become your agent. And so she's like, this is just the behind the scenes of what's going to happen all the time. And I was like, fine, I'm used to it already. We've been friends for like 2 years now, and I'm used to it. So what's your crazy idea? She's like, what if we started a podcast? I was like, wait, we? And she's like, yeah, I want you on it. And I was like, but it's your
busy
idea.
Or anything, right? Like, you got time.
No. But I was like, wait, it's your idea. And she's like, no, but I want you to be like, I want it to be our thing. So whenever I was like, oh, it's, Kelly's podcast, she's like, excuse you, it's our podcast. So I've stopped making that mistake, because I know Kelly will come after me. Yes.
That is.
It sounds like I'm killing people. But
I love everything about that. And by the way, the fact that she used executioner, like,
executor.
She gets stuff done. That's what she means. But I also think when there is a professional status and she is Kelly's agent, she will also be the executioner if necessary. So, like,
I'm not going to execute anyone.
No. But, like, you execute the BS.
I'll threaten.
Whether like a publisher is trying to put off on an author, you'll be like, oh, I'm going to take care of that. You relax. Yes. I'll handle that. So, yeah.
But anyway, so she messaged me that. And then, like, This was in April. This was during a Camp Nano and also like me gearing up for the end of a semester.
Yeah.
And she's like, we don't have to do it now. We don't have to do it now. Okay. 2 weeks later, we have our logo, our brand colors. We have the fonts picked out. We have the accounts set up that we need. So we have the podcast hosting thing set up. I have done the research for how are we going to record this, because we're long distance and there are all these different ways. But what are we going to do? What's the best?
How you do it from a distance. So I'm curious.
What's the best microphone that we're going to buy later down the line, because we can't afford it right now. We wound up buying them before we could afford them.
Naturally, as you do.
I mean, it's been totally worth it, but like we were like, and then we're like, okay, we're gonna record, we're gonna have the trailer or whatever. So we started recording on May 1st, and we were done recording like June 16th, our whole first season.
Wow.
We just recorded straight through, basically, and we're like, we're going to drop the trailer on August 31st, which we found out, was Regina's birthday, which like we didn't know when we picked it.
Like
and we're going to drop the first episode on September 28th. So that means at the end of June on your channel, Zara, because you have more followers than me, said Kelly. And I was like, I mean, it's your idea. I feel like it should be on yours. And she's like, no, it's going to be on yours. We did a live stream where we announced that we were doing the podcast. And we announced the Ko-fi page at that time so people could follow us for free. And if you're like a $1 supporter there monthly, you get the first 5 minutes of every episode before it drops, like 72 hours early. Subtle plug there. And so we just like made that whole plan in like 2 weeks. And then it took us like a month and a half to actually record all this stuff. And then I edit the episodes and Kelly, designs the graphics. We share all the images to each other on Canva. So I can see what she's doing, but I'm like, you're the one who actually has a design degree. So I'm going to let you do that. And we, last week after I gave our podcast as a presentation to one of my classes, we were like, we need to come up with a better social media promotion schedule for the podcast for the next year. So we nailed that down. I nailed down my content schedule for the new year. Kelly needs to do hers.
I mean, I'm impressed.
Kelly.
Talk to me about the name. Where'd the name come from? Kelly
had options. I can't remember them, and I'm not scrolling through
that's okay.
months and months of of messages, because Kelly and I message each other a lot in a single conversation, and we have multiple of those conversations within a day. So it'll take hours probably to scroll all the way through. Yeah. But she offered me different options, and we're like, and when she was like Writeish, I was like, I like that, because it's like, we know that it can be like, oh, write that ish, but it's also Writeish, where it's like, it's something ish. Like, it's not always, because sometimes we go into mental health. Sometimes we go into witchy things. That hasn't happened too much, but I have a feeling like in future episodes, it's going to get a little bit witchy in there.
I'm here for it.
Yeah.
So what would you, if someone's walking up to you and they say, what's the focus of the series overall? How do you describe it? What do you say?
It's talking about all topics that a writer who wants to become an author in any method, traditional or indie, and who may be struggling or just wants to hear what another person's point of view is on any and every stage of the process.
Yeah.
We're here. We're here to talk about stuff.
And I agree with Michael C.B. Chin. It is a terrific name. I agree. It's also a terrific podcast. I have enjoyed it. Yeah. So tell me this. What has surprised you the most about the process of making a podcast?
I think at how easy it is. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes I have spent 30 minutes editing what becomes 5 minutes of the podcast. And Kelly will be like, oh my God. And I'm like, no. I don't say that to freak you out or make you feel like I'm doing all the work. I'm not trying to do that. But like the ease that Kelly and I have with writing our bullet points for our scripts, scheduling it around my life, her life, getting onto Zencastr and just banging that thing out. Even when we have tangents, it's like...
It's easier than you expected.
It's so easy. And part of me knows that it's because we took this seriously and we did the groundwork necessary to remove all the roadblocks early on. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know. I know that it really comes down to the fact that we love each other and we work really well together, because you can have friends that you don't work well with, and you can have people you just don't work well with in general, even if you're not friends. But
I love this. Kelly says it's another useful tool for fellow writers to utilize. Love that. And it's perfect. And so I'm going to ask my last podcast question, and then I'm jumping into Shannon's question about your podcast, because I love it, Shannon, and I'm saving it to pop into in just a second. So tell me this, what direction do you see the podcast going in the future? You have already planned through season 3 or 4?
8.
8? You've planned 8 seasons ahead? Holy moly, I'm behind. So how many episodes?
We haven't really publicized that. Sorry, Kelly. I don't know if that was supposed to stay in our Coven Cuties chat.
No, that's okay. I'm just like, that's pretty far out. So how long is a season then? Is that like 9 episodes, 10?
Oh, no. So our first season is 14 episodes. And other seasons are like they're like 11 to 13, I think.
Wow. Okay. So it's like, like a Netflix series.
I think one season might be 9, if I remember. I don't know. It also depends on the dates that they come out and the topic sometimes. Okay, I'm not in trouble.
You're not in trouble. She still loves you. You're still invited to Christmas.
I haven't broken the friendship. I'm so glad. We have this thing that we say, and it's never made it into one of the episodes so far, but we say don't break the friendship.
3 months in a single season.
3 months is a single season.
Okay, that helps. That gives me some...
But they start at different times. So like the break between the end of season 1 and the start of season 2 is a week.
Yeah.
I think. It's like we end at the final week of December, and the next one is we're back in the first week of January 2022.
Wow.
But then there's another one where I think we have like a 2-month break or something. It's not consistent, which will probably bite us in the ass at some point, but for us, it's very consistent in how we figured it out. So it makes sense on the back end.
Yeah.
What was the question? Oh, where do we see it going in the future? We have lots and lots of interviews for the second season. And for the second season, it's mostly other Authortubers. So we've interviewed Jesse Elliott, we've interviewed Sarah Sutton, we interviewed RP Winters. We are going to be interviewing Regina Duke on Sunday, which her episode doesn't come out until like towards the end of the second season. So we're very in advance.
Which is great. Because if life happens, you've got runway, right? So if
that's the whole point. That's the whole point. We set this up on purpose. We interviewed my marketing professor, who is the social media director for Little Brown Books.
Can't wait to hear that. I saw your notices about that.
Yeah.
About that.
I interviewed he writes thriller, but he's a cardiologist, and he's advised on like every single TV show you've ever seen that has something medical go wrong, whether it's a crime that looks medical or like something like House. Although I don't think he did House specifically. I know he did Royal Pains and other things.
Oh, I love Royal Pains.
And he's a friend of a friend. So I got to interview him, and I was like, this is crazy.
That's really cool.
And then in future seasons, we have, more episodes that are like the first season where it's just me and Kelly talking about things mixed in with interviews with other people. We have one of the episodes is very much themed around like talking about characters from specific things. So what does, we have an episode that's actually very popular from our first season so far called Know Your Characters. And I actually updated the description, Kelly, because I finally found the interview where Ben Barnes talks about the thing that I mentioned. But anyway, Kelly and I were talking about how we create characters. And I'm not going to go too much into it because people should listen to the episode.
Mm-hmm.
I worked very hard on editing that.
And there's a link below to the podcast, so go to the link.
I don't remember the episode number, but anyway, we were talking about the differences of like how much, and it was part of a series of like world building, outlining characters, like how much do you need to know before you start writing? Right. If you're a planner, obviously you can go ham, but maybe don't go ham is what our advice was. And then if you're not a planner, like, do you need to know anything at all going in? And so it was like kind of spread across those 3 episodes, but we broke it down into world building, outlining, more for plot, and then characters stuff or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was just a lot of people like that episode. And I think for me and my boss, Nancy Yost, the one who founded the literary agency that I'm currently at, we agree that it's the characters that make the biggest impact. So if any of you are trying for traditional publishing, yes, have a good plot. Yes, try and make your manuscript as clean as possible before you submit it to a literary agent, because I have absolutely thrown stuff into the trash for my bosses at literary agencies from the slush and been like, this isn't worth you reading. Like, I'm sorry. Like, they didn't try. Like, if they're not going to try, it's not worth. Because
your first 3 chapters need to be polished, friends. Polished.
Your first 50 pages need to be polished. Yeah. Like, yes, your first 3 chapters, but don't let the quality drop off at the end of the 50 pages.
Yeah.
And don't have it be a really steep cliff at the end of the 50 pages. Because as someone who had to read the whole thing, I wrote in reader reports to my bosses, really good premise, really interested in where it's going, fell apart halfway through. Because I have to be honest.
Yeah.
And they don't have the time to deal with that. Like,
that's your job.
In something, they will. But when you get frustrated at the querying process, remember that agents are human. Don't insult them on the internet, because it makes me very upset, because I've worked with some of these amazing people whose lives are books. They don't make a lot of money in general, unless they have a runaway hit, which is very rare.
Yep.
And their authors are their lives. Like,
that's right.
No work-life balance.
And you and I have talked about this on streams, talking about querying before. Don't say bad things. Do not respond to if an agent says it's a no-go. There's no reason to respond.
Also, if you get a form response, it's not that they don't care, it's that they don't have time. I told Kelly this behind the scenes. I don't know if we wound up mentioning it in a podcast that we recently recorded, but my first boss is close for the first time to queries in his long career, over 20-year career, because he has, what did I say he had, Kelly? He had like 26 clients or something.
Wow. That's a big list.
He can't.
Yeah.
Most of the people at my current agency, who all have like jobs aside from just being an agent within the agency, have like client lists of like 5 people.
Yeah.
And they're all close to queries right now. And eventually they will open back up, and they've all told me that. I'm not here to tell you what the timeline is, because I don't know.
Yeah.
Timing and fit are what you need on your side. And sometimes you have one and you don't have the other. And everyone in the publishing industry is human. Please remember that.
Totally. I am hoping and praying that you might do a little video series on your channel that is just about your experiences.
I have one planned, but if people have any questions about that specifically, hit me up on Instagram. Like Barrett said, my link is in the description.
Yeah. I'm going to ask these questions from Shannon because they are all about podcasts. This is a group of 3 people starting a new podcast together. So the questions are, what platform do you use for your podcast, and how did you choose that one?
So, I'm assuming you mean like Podbean versus Anchor versus.
I think so. Shannon, correct us if we're wrong, but I think that's where the question's headed.
Like the one that we go through. Yeah. Like, I'm assuming you don't mean like the fact that we're on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify.
Right.
So I'm going to answer it like that. If I'm wrong, let us know in the chat. I did a ton of research. I looked at basically all of these podcast websites. I looked at their pricing plans. I looked at their features. I read articles by podcasters who did comparisons between them. I watched YouTube video reviews of them. I looked at websites for podcasts that were made through each of them. I actually personally knew a podcast that I love that was done through Podbean. So, I mean, it always had a little bit of an edge for me, but it was, I did my research. I didn't just go to that because it was the one I knew. Mm-hmm. And it is the best for what we're paying.
Yeah.
Like if we were able to pay more, there is one that would become better, but at that point we wouldn't want to switch, and it's not that much better.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's like negligible difference.
Exactly.
So Shannon asks, how do you, or SD Houston for in the chat for folks, how do you get word out about your podcast, especially in the beginning?
Talk about it nonstop on live streams and chats. I mean, I felt weird talking about it in other people's things, but I was just talking about it on mine a lot. And I have timers set up in my chat when I do Twitch streams, like I will be tomorrow at 8 a.m. Eastern.
7 a.m.
Barrett as a guest. With, saying like, did you know I'm doing a podcast with Kelly?
Yeah.
Here are the links. You just have to become comfortable with promoting yourself. And that's the same if you're a self-published author or a traditionally published author. The idea that the publishing industry is going to completely market you is not true. It's not what indie Authortube has made you believe that they're not going to do anything, because that's not true.
Yeah.
But they are not going to carry you.
Yeah, you got to do a lot of the legwork yourself. This question I'm curious about: do you monetize your podcast? And then my follow-up to this would be, if so, how does one monetize a podcast? I don't even know how one does that. So have you guys done that yet? Or I haven't heard ads, I don't think.
Right. So to get ads, you need to have a lot of downloads and a lot of...
Gotcha.
We don't have that yet. We are new.
Yeah.
We hope that will change as we have more episodes. We hope that will change as more people who listen to us just share about it in general. Yeah. If you all want to start talking about it in your real lives, I mean, we'd love it.
There's the link.
I think that's our most recent episode. The next one is already edited. I had a bigger runway with the edits, and then final season happened. So we're still good, but yeah. But once we can monetize the podcast itself, ads will be in there. We will make sure that they're only things that we care about, that we can vouch for. We're not going to just grab money from anyone who will give it to us. Yeah. In general, the way we've monetized it so far is our Ko-fi page, which is what is the starred comment that you have of Regina.
Yep. Do you want me to put that one up? Because that's a
yeah.
Do it now.
So right now we are fundraising for the annual fee to just host our podcast. Kelly and I have a lot of plans for merch. Currently, I think I moved them.
I got to see some of the merch drawings, I think.
Okay, hold on. Let me just grab the sticker.
Take your time. I'm going to do a little plug. So I'm with Zara tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. over on Twitch. I'm also with Zara on Sunday morning at, I think, 8 a.m. my time for a stream here on her YouTube channel. A couple other things coming up on my channel tonight at 5 p.m. We have our second collaboration with Michelle Schusterman with the Middle Grade Writers Club. So if you're around, come for that. It's a workshop led entirely by Michelle. My job is just to keep the chat in check and do all of the technical stuff in the background. So that's going to be a ton of fun, and we're looking forward to it. And just like that, I filled that time. Look at that.
Woo. So currently we have our logo designed by Kelly as a sticker, 2 inches. It is, it's water resistant, but it is matte.
Yeah.
It's not vinyl. We might come out with those once we sell out of these. We're not sure. Yeah. Kelly is making me wait until after I graduate, but if you all disagree, maybe we can convince her by pure pressure. Pure
Robert's
pressure.
ears must have been burning because we were both just talking about you, Robert. All good things. And Zara was saying she missed you. So look at that.
This is a color changing mug. It starts out black. The inside is always pink. It literally has a holder for this spoon.
Brilliant.
When hot water is added, or hot tea or hot coffee, whatever, it turns white and the logo appears. And Kelly is making me wait on putting this up in the shop, but this will be available. We have plans for more writerly swag, like notebooks and planners.
Yep.
And I can't really say much else about those things specifically or anything else, but we have a lot of plans for merch.
Yeah.
So we have ways that we plan on bringing money in before we are eligible to then get ads. But it would be.
I love this question from Joel, so I'm just going to throw it up. It is podcast or YouTube videos. I can't do both. Which one is best for my author brand?
I think it's easier to get discovered on YouTube, which sounds crazy because there are so many Authortubers, but people are pretty loyal to their podcasts, and there are already a lot of writing podcasts. When I did competition analysis for our thing as a school project, that's my house phone that only spammers call, so I don't know. I'm never going to answer it. Let's see. I found 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 competitive podcasts. And so I would say YouTube, because it also lets you do live streams and things like that, not just made videos. And if you believe Alexa Dunn's video about like Pitman maybe being dead, but maybe agents are starting to look at AuthorTube to find people, paired with the fact that I've been telling the people I work for to look at AuthorTube, I still think YouTube is the best thing if you're trying to pick. Unless you have a really solid plan for a podcast, then go for that. You can always come back to YouTube.
Or an existing following. Right? If you have an existing following that you can channel to it. Yeah.
I mean, that helps too.
Yeah, of course. But I
we
agree with
are.
Ability factor.
Kelly answered Eva's question.
Oh, okay. So we don't need Eva's. Okay, I will. Well, Eva's got a couple, so I'm going to throw this one.
Yeah. But the last one, are we doing interviews? Gotcha. What ratio I'm not close to worth the read did you come across? There were many that I thought were worth a read, but there were a few that I had to not pass on to my bosses because I knew it wasn't what they were looking for. The nice thing is that working in a small agency, I can be like, look, I know this was queried to you, but I know this person might be interested. Like, should I ask? And then my boss is normally like, they already have too much. It's like, and I was like, okay. Sometimes if it gets through to an agent and then they're the ones who say it's not for them, but they know someone in their office who's interested, they can pass it on and see. But I mean, there's a lot of crap in a slush pile.
Well, and here's my question, just curious, because I've obviously never done an internship at an agency, but I'm wondering how it works. Do you do you sort of do slush pile for just one agent, so you kind of know what they're looking for?
It depends on the agency.
Okay.
So I was reading for 3 different agents at my first internship.
Okay.
And now I haven't read for the founder because her needing a task done, it never lines up with me being available to take on a new task.
Okay.
But I've read for 3 of the 5 agents at my current internship.
Okay.
And they all say what they're interested in on their website, and they also tell us the interns. But when I was at my first agency internship, I was solidly reading for 3 people. So they would send me something, or I would be in their specific query
Manager.
I always forget. Query manager. It's called query manager for the agent side. It's called query tracker for the author side. Yeah. I'm used to query manager more.
Hey, that's good to know from my side. I'll be like, hey, what's happening on the other side?
Where I'd be in their inbox, so I knew who I was looking for stuff for, and I'd be like, not a genre they represent. Sent to the wrong agent. They already they're not going to be interested in this because it doesn't have these other story elements that they say that they want on their website. And then I know that they already have something like this that they're working on, so they're not going to want a second one. Things like that. So it was very easy to get rid of stuff. And then you had to read the ones where you're like, maybe.
Well, I think, and Robert jumped in with this too, and I think those are good points all around. Let me just one more on the agency thing because I'm curious about this. So is it pretty, I have always been a fan of checking not only the website for what they're looking for, but also like manuscript wish list and
manuscript wish list, Twitter.
And the hashtag manuscript wish list on Twitter, both, because sometimes I've noticed that the Twitter is more updated than the actual manuscript wish website.
Yeah, but also pay attention to their actual Twitter. See what they like as people. That will help you.
Tips, people. She's dropping knowledge. Pick it up. Pick it up if you're with it. So when unicorn books are mentioned and discussed as not good, it always felt to me like a big tell that the submissions weren't all great, Eva says. And with respect to, I haven't read 50 Shades, but for example, okay, I think I know what you mean. And I have read 50 Shades.
I don't think I know what you mean, Eva.
I think what she meant was it's like when the unicorn book breaks out and a lot of people say it's not good, that the tell would have been the submission. Like for instance,
here's the thing is that in this, for 50 Shades, was already like popular self-published. So they weren't doing another edit. They basically just put a house behind it so that they could then get some money.
Right.
Whereas if it's a new book from an agent to an editor, most agents will do some editorial work with you, which is not common knowledge. Then it goes to an editor who makes you do editorial work, obviously. Yeah. And then it gets published. That's a very simplistic way of saying it. There can be multiple rounds. But
yes, so that's what I thought it would be. So referring back to slush piles being mostly sloppy, rough drafts. I think what she meant
some of them aren't
already sloppy, or is
some
it?
Some of them aren't sloppy, and it's just really like this story is not something they'd be interested in.
Yeah. Next question from Eva: do agents say it isn't for them when they really mean it isn't good enough?
No.
Yeah.
They don't have time.
Yeah.
Like they'll be like, it isn't for me.
Yeah.
And that can mean one of a million things.
Yeah.
But they would say, I think you need to do more work on this if they thought it wasn't good enough.
Yeah. I had a very long chat with a friend of mine in my Writers Guild here in St. Louis who just got a bunch of rejections on some queries. And we had a long talk. And at the end of it, I said, at the end of the day, no is a complete sentence. And there isn't really a need for like an explanation beyond just no, and that's okay. It's not the end of the world. We're not all going to dig it, Okay, so let's move on because I'm dying to get into a little bit of craft because, again, you're an expert in all of the things. So, okay, tell me this on the craft side. And I didn't send you this question, but I thought of it this morning when I was thinking about your school program. So as far as my question about your favorite craft book, that one still stands. But is there any craft kind of information stuff you've gleaned from school and your time in your programs that you would also point to and say this was a signed reading but worth checking out?
Like a book I had to read for school?
It doesn't have to be just anything like even if it's an article, you know what I mean? Like something in class that you think, oh, a writer should check this out or be aware of this.
I'm looking at my books. One. There it is, hiding because I don't reference it a lot. Now that I'm no longer offering that as.
See you later, Kelly. We totally get the mommy things. Me too, Eva.
Everyone should read this book.
Okay. Okay. I have not heard of this, so I am going to be adding this to my list.
Multiple of my classes brought this up. One of them had this for required reading. Another class had him speak to us.
That I love. That is our tip of the day, friends. Is it Dryers? Is that how
Dryer's English.
Dryer's English, Benjamin Dryer. I will add it to the comment when I set up the chapters later tonight. I'll add a pinned comment with a link to that book for everyone there. Robert says to you, great point that agents will give writers tips. I've talked to some who do that because they do want to sell the book.
Yeah.
So remember, that's the job. They don't get money unless you get money, unless they sell the book. Popping back in because I wanted to drop a question. When you start agenting authors yourself, do you have a particular genre you want to focus on representing, or will you accept all genres? Great question. I actually didn't think of asking that myself.
I'll accept all. I probably won't do well with representing horror, though. Yeah. Because I don't know that market as well.
Yeah.
That's not to say I'll never do it after learning more, but I just want to be upfront about that.
And then, I didn't ask any questions about your program. Would you tell everybody? I should have. I don't know why I didn't think of that. Would you give folks who maybe aren't familiar with your program just kind of an idea of what it's about?
Sure. The NYU Masters in Publishing is a grad school program where people at the top of their, positions in the publishing industry are teaching, which is crazy. The new head of Hearst, the woman who replaced the very problematic male president, she taught me finances my first semester of the program and got promoted while we were still in her class. Wow. So Debbie Chiricella, my professor.
That's cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I've had a Big Five acquisitions editor teach me about that. I've had the head of a publisher teach me about book publishing, crash course. I've had a little bit problematic, but I had the head of the publisher that put out American Dirt talk to me at a career fair.
Can I ask a question about that one? Did anybody ask anything about the problematic side of American Dirt at all?
Oh yeah, we've read American Dirt to filth in multiple classes. It's been used as a what not to do case.
Okay. I was like, I know I read that one. I'm pretty sure that's the one that I'm thinking it is. Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. So, you have access to people who are actually running the industry. So it's that's incredible.
Yeah.
How
select? Also, another thing that I would say to your earlier question about what something people should pay attention to, learn SEO and web analytics. You are so much more advanced than all of my classmates were in that class if you can read a analytics dashboard from YouTube.
Interesting.
I went in, I was the only person who knew this stuff, and my teacher was very surprised that I knew as much as I did. But the more you know about tech stuff, I know we're writers, I know we don't want to do math, I know we don't want to be techies. The more you know about it, the more you're going to stand out.
Yeah.
Because you'll know I keep putting my computer on Do Not Disturb, and then it keeps turning off, and I don't know how.
You're blowing up. I'm like, you are popular this morning.
No. It's because I turned on tweet notifications for someone who posts a lot of flash fiction.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay. Because mine keep coming up, but it's because my entire family's in Phoenix today. And so I'm getting all of the pictures popping up on the screen. I'm like, y'all, I told you I was busy. Stop it.
No. But yeah, the more you can know about stuff on the internet, the better you are.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I'm going to ask this question from JC Carpenter because it's also an interesting one that you kind of touched on, but I want you to hit on it again since JC missed it. And I think JC's considering a Ko-fi, and I want to connect you two. So yes. Could you tell us about your Ko-fi, more of the membership tiers? Because I don't think we actually hit on what they are.
Right. So if you have looked at anyone's following on Patreon, since before the pandemic started, I don't know when they introduced tiers. It was maybe they had it from the start. I don't remember. Ko-fi allows you to do memberships where if you set a certain amount and then you just say monthly, you want to make it a monthly donation, you can lock things to monthly supporters, one-off supporters, and people who haven't supported you at all. If you have tiers, which is what they call membership, then you as the creator can be like, for this amount a month, this is what you get. For this amount a month, you get this, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I currently have 3 because that's as much as I can handle. Maybe in the future that'll change. Probably not, though. And you can then paywall certain things to be at this tier or above. So if I lock something to my Authortube fan tier, which is $2 a month, you get access to vote in my YouTube topic poll when I remember to post them, shout out in YouTube videos, and Discord access. Everyone gets Discord access. Everyone gets a YouTube thank you. As you go up, as you pay more, you get more access to things. So if you're in my book buddy tier, which is what Barrett is in, you get access to cutscenes. You get the first crack at becoming an alpha reader for my current story because I like to keep the numbers small. You get early cover reveals. You get, and then you get the things from the lower ones.
Yeah.
And et cetera, et cetera. So, but if I lock something to my VIP club tier, which is $8 a month and has Crow and Regina as my members there, you can text me directly. So if you ever have a question, you can text me. The only time I don't answer is if I'm sleeping. So proof that I do actually sleep, both of you. There's a monthly live stream that's just them. We're all on screen. No one else can see us. Everyone gets a personalized tarot card reading. So it doesn't go out to the whole group. It's not one card for everyone. And it's also not the person texts the group and is like, oh, I have to out what my question is and what the future is telling me. No, it's personalized. It's private. You get a free signed paperback during your 4th month. And this is international. So it's the only way to get a signed paperback from me if you live internationally, not in the US or Canada. You get a 15% discount on all commissions. Currently, until the end of the month, if you use the code NANO21, you get 5% off any of my commissions. That sounds very small. I did write a post. I wrote a post about why it was only 5%. And basically it boiled down to I'm not working. I don't have a paid job other than what's coming through Ko-fi, but also I offer a lot of services that you can't get anywhere else. No. So there's that. And then you get all the other things from the previous tiers. I have a album on my Ko-fi page that is the journey of my audiobook of my debut book being made. I'm putting in the private chat, Barrett, if you want to.
Yes, I'll put it down.
Put it in there. But if you click on that, you will see that some of them say for monthly subscribers and some are just completely open images. And if you click on them, some of them are locked to different tiers. So, you know, number 8 is available to all members from Book Buddy and above. So Barrett, Crow, and Regina can see number 8, chapter 4, the image for that and the caption in that album, but people at the Authortube fan tier can't.
Eva asks, do you have...
Oh, you put it... Okay, yeah, you did put it in the post.
Oh, yeah, no, I put it... You saw me put it in the press.
Yeah.
You know I'm struggling with the text.
It's okay, it's okay.
However, Eva says, do you have a plan to have courses? Like Skillshare, maybe?
I've thought about it. I've bookmarked courses on Skillshare on how to make your own courses. I've considered doing one for Ko-fi and one for Scrivener and things like that. But it's just like,
honestly, Zara, your outline, I have it where I could pull it up and share screen, but I seriously use your outlining method.
Yeah, it's just easier for me to like make one video and put it on YouTube, or like it's easier for me, even though it takes more time, to hop onto a one-on-one chat with like Regina to walk through how to do something. And the PDFs are coming, I swear. There is going to be a Scrivener guide and a Ko-fi guide for writers. They've both been on my to-do list for forever. And school just kicked my ass.
Well, and as you scale, it'll probably be harder to do those individual things. You know what I mean? You'll probably, that may be when it's easier to say, hey, check out this video, that I did.
Yeah, and it'll probably become a check out this video, and maybe I'll do away with the Ko-fi coaching, or I'll limit it to how many I do in a month.
Oh, this is interesting. Maybe a collab course where you're showing a novice the ropes. That's interesting. I mean, I can tell you, I'm going to reach out to you in the new year. I've had some TradPub people that are doing this middle grade club thing, and you're one of the people I want to have on to talk to them about querying when it's time.
Oh, I'd love it. Yeah.
So that's something I'm going to come at you for in the new year, reach out in the new year. But I'm going to go with what Regina said, that grad school first.
Also, this month, I might start doing some nighttime streams because my classes are at night and I don't have them for the next month. So.
Yeah. Well, that sounds cool. You need a copy. So author JC Carpenter, if you need a copy, it is $3. Am I right about that, Zara? Yeah. It's $3. $3, and I've helped sell a few of these actually. It's $3 over on Zara's.
I know you have. Every time you mention it, I'm like, oh, there's a spike.
And it's amazing because and I'm not kidding. It's a PDF. It's super, super helpful. Definitely on the middle grade story I'm working on, JC, with you guys, the one I'm drafting while you guys are doing your thing with Michelle. It is 100% working off of that method. Like I'm cleaning up my outline with it. So check it out. It's a great PDF, super useful. I don't know how courses work. You're just among those with the experience and education to educate others. Agree. I don't think people would have that icky feeling that they might have with some others sometimes. So yeah, and then
Sarah, we're not going to get into that tea.
No. It's too early for that. We can't do that this morning. It'll ruin the whole day. So before we kind of shift back into some of my other questions I sent you, some of these questions that are in my mind. So tell me a little bit about, as far as the agency thing, I'm going to add this now. Thank you for doing that. Here is the link, friends, to the $3, come on, StreamYard. Boom.
If you look at the second preview image of it before you buy it, I do have a little note that explains why anyone can buy it. Kind of the same way that anyone can listen to the Writeish podcast. It's like, everyone always says you can't please everybody. And that's true, because I'm sure there are people who don't like how chatty Kelly and I are. And I'm sure there are people who, find two people talking about something instead of like just giving a to-do list of what to do and how to improve isn't useful, in which case you can stop listening, buddy. It's your time. But the outlining method PDF is also designed to give something to everyone, even if you don't end up following it to the letter. And there's actually very little to follow to the letter on purpose, because that's how I am. So you just go. So when you're there, there's the image, there's the cover page image, but then there's a little arrow. If you click that, you can read the little letter that I wrote at the start of the document. So you can see if it interests you. I really do think it is worth something to everyone. I tried to make it that way, but just want to put that out there.
I'm loving the podcast and playing catch up, so I haven't listened to all the episodes, but I love it. That's what I love to hear. I'm just going to do one more shout out because we're getting to the end of the stream, but Zara is so close to 1,000, y'all. So close.
If you on my YouTube channel,
get down and subscribe to that YouTube channel. And
I have writing sprint timers, so if you all could use that, because I need to get back to the 4,000 watch hours, because they moved the line to like be a year from when you're checking.
Oh.
I had that and not the 1,000, and now I am closer to the 1,000, but I don't have the 4,000.
Yeah, well, you'll get it back quickly with all of your streams and sprints and things. Like, I feel like it'll happen.
You were going to ask something about the agency.
Yeah, I am. I have not forgotten.
Okay.
So when you go out and it's your turn, right? It's your turn to be an agent. So for those of us that are a little bit uneducated on how it works, so do you apply to an agency like you would for a job? Or
yeah.
Okay, so it is like that. So you're applying.
Oh, it's 100%. I basically apply to be
Thank you, Shannon. Appreciate you.
An assistant. We're basically, can I say the B word on here?
Oh, you can say any of the words. I'm not monetized yet.
I'm going to be the office's bitch. Pack mule. Everything. Treated better than Devil Wears Prada, but as busy, if not more, because I will be handling everything for the entire office.
Yep.
For a year and a half to 2 years.
Yep.
Basically, until my boss, who's normally the founder of the agency, unless it's a really, really big agency like Writers House, which is like the gold standard and like has basically represents almost every single famous book you know.
Yep.
Then says, okay, we're ready. You're ready to be an agent on your own. But before they say that, they'll tell me, start building your own list.
Okay. I'm just giving you this. You've gotten some love from Shannon. Subscribed, channel and IG. That's what I love to see. Victoria Wren subscribed and got the outline. That's what I love to see. I'm here for it. Robert says, I have a YouTube account under my own name so I can double sub. Yes, I love that, Robert Jones. Thank you. We're just going to get her there. That's my goal. I'm going to ask this question. What's the link to Zara's plan? I clicked on it, a couple links here, but I didn't see it. Okay, let me drop it one more time, Shannon. It is right here. This is the last link you dropped me, right, Zara?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. It's this one, Shannon, right here that I'm dropping right now.
I don't know, Crow. It's okay.
I don't know, Crow. I'm telling you, it's a game changer for me. And
I apparently turned Regina into a planner before I even put this out.
Oh, I am start building. Yeah.
Okay, so yesterday my boss sent me her evaluation of how I did for the internship because I'm getting it for school credit. So they were like, it's not mandatory that your boss sends you the evaluation, but my boss sent it to me, and she said the nicest thing in the evaluation.
Are you going to share it with us?
Yeah, I'm pulling it up.
Thank you, Shannon.
We have absolutely enjoyed having Zara on our team this fall and are looking forward to seeing her take the industry by storm in the coming years.
I couldn't agree more. The moment we met, I said to you afterwards, said, you're going to be my agent. And I think there was like well, why? And I was like, I don't know. There's just a vibe that I see there of like, you are going to just get stuff done and you're going to take no BS. And I'm here for all that energy. Thank you, Eva, for dropping Regina's latest book. I appreciate it. It. Thank you for the tweet, JC Carpenter. I appreciate it. I'll retweet it when I get done. And Michael says, oh, yes. So, okay, last thing I'm going to ask you before we start to just wind things down. I'm going to give you a chance to do an outro. But let me ask you this. If you're given one tip to somebody out there trying to get into the trenches that we haven't talked about already today, what would it be?
After you've made your book the best it can be and sent out your queries, work on the next one.
Okay, I'm going to follow it up. So if someone's wondering, when do they know they've taken it as far as they can?
When you read it and can't think of anything. Shoot, we just said it in our second episode about revision, which comes out in the second season.
I listened to that one.
No. One came out in the first season. There's another one in the second season. The author of The Little Prince had a quote where it's like, perfection isn't when you can't add anything else. It's when there's nothing else to remove. So that, like when there's nothing else you would change.
Or cut.
or like, yeah, when there's nothing else you would cut or like some glaring thing, but the grammar is clean from what you can tell and you're happy with how the story is, which I know is like a big thing to ask. I'm not saying that you think it's perfect. That's never going to happen. There are times where I think of like, oh, I could have done something better. I'm sorry, that's always going to be there. But when you think that like, this is really good as it is, and I can't think of a way to fix it, that's it. Yep. You don't wait until, oh, more inspiration will come to me to fix it.
Yeah. Robert says, congrats on the kind words. I agree. You will do very well. I agree. I'm just sitting here watching the chat and the number of people who are like, I'm going to be going after Zara as my agent. You could show up with half a list. But
I mean, I probably would.
Authortuber people who will be like, we want her.
It's like, we've already been taking her advice, so our books aren't super crappy.
Exactly. Would like, try us. No, I love that. I appreciate it. That's a question I got recently from a friend who, again, is getting ready to do the query in the middle grade club. Who's getting ready to do the query trenches. And the question was, how do I know it's ready? And I didn't really have a good answer, right? Because I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out. So I certainly don't know. So you were the person to ask, I thought.
There's a thing in Tick, Tick, Boom, and I can't say the full context of it without giving something away. But as I was watching it, and as someone who grew up in musical theater with two people who like work in musical theater, we all knew the thing before it became clear what happened. Anyway, the answer is always write the next one. You know?
Yep. I'm going to put this up. It's for you, but do you care if I answer it first since I did one of these this year? Okay. My answer is always do it. Even though my experience wasn't amazing, it was 100% worth it to get the editorial feedback from a professional who like pointed out stuff in the letter that my CPs had missed, that people in my writing groups had missed, was so invaluable. And yes, it was a lot of time and work, and it didn't turn out the way I wanted it to, but I did learn a lot. And so I would always say, take the chance, because you're not gonna. Robert and I talked about this yesterday. It's always going to be a no until you try, and then it could be a yes. So that would be my answer. What would you say to this one?
That I helped Shanice Littlejohn, who doesn't have a YouTube yet, although I've asked her and Keelan has asked her, and we haven't succeeded like I did with Holly Davis's friend, who messaged all of her other Authortuber friends, was like, I did the thing. And then she messaged me privately. She was like, I'm not scared of anything, but I'm kind of scared of Zara. And I knew she'd kick my butt if I didn't make one. So I was like, okay. But I helped Shanice with a revise and resubmit. And I don't remember how that ultimately panned out. But yeah, if you are given that opportunity, you take it.
Yeah, I agree.
Because you'll learn something.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I totally agree. There's some benefit in it. That's my motto. It's always no until you ask. Yes, this is 100% of the shots you don't take, you'll miss. And that's what I just try. Zero hope whatsoever, but I'll keep on trying. Again, you'll be on the list. Zara's taken us all, so you're not getting thrown off the list. She loves sci-fi, so you got the right person for sure. She writes it. Well, here's what I'm going to do. We're at the end of the stream. I'm turning it over to you to do an outro. Let everybody know how wonderful you are and why I love you so much, and then why they should love you as much as I do. And now is your time. Go.
My name is Zara Hoffman. I'm the self-published author of 6 books, a young adult paranormal romance trilogy, a new adult sci-fi romance trilogy. I have many other books planned. The next one will probably be my young adult dystopian romance. I have a new adult spy thriller planned with zero romance. Sorry, Regina. I know you're hoping for that. And a lot of other stories. I have a Ko-fi page where I sell signed books to US and Canada. I offer perks to my members there if you join, including a signed paperback internationally if you're at the top tier for 4 months. I am the co-host of the Writeish Podcast with Kelly Wright, where we talk about anything you could possibly want to hear about as a writer on the indie or traditional track. We will be having interviews starting next season in the new year, so be sure to start listening now so you're caught up when those roll around. I also offer a lot of services to authors through my Ko-fi page. You have to click commission me or hire me, or I don't remember what the button says. But yeah, and if you use the code NANO21 through December 31st, even if you're booking for a project that you won't send to me until the new year, you save 5%, which is a pretty good deal on some of these things for services that you're never going to find anywhere else. So yeah, and I host writing sprints like all the time on Twitch on Fridays tomorrow's the last 8 a.m. Twitch one, because then they're going to be moving to 9 a.m. my time because my internship will be over.
Oh my gosh, that's kind of sad.
And then I do 9 a.m.s on YouTube, which you're also going to be
I'm on Sunday too. I'm
seeing you 3 times this week, and I love it, and it's still not going to be enough.
I know, and the thing is, I'm finally drafting, so I actually have like stuff to work on your streams, which I'm excited. Like not admin stuff, which is all I've done the last few of them. So I'm glad to be actually writing again. So I'm excited about that. And yes, Crow, I loved this comment. I wish it did not have to end. I have to take some pills that make me terribly nauseous in about 30 minutes. So unfortunately for me, I got to take a break and go horizontal for a couple hours. I love you all so much, and I am absolutely a giant fan of Zara. I hope you all are too after today. She will be coming back on this channel. Do not even worry about it, because I'm going to find all the excuses to collaborate with her in 2022. So if you're looking,
Barrett's going to be interviewed for our podcast, but we have you down for like season 3, I think.
Well,
Sorry.
And I joked I might have a book by then. Like,
yeah,
I mean, like it's possible. I don't know. Depends on how fast the seasons run, but we will just see. Yes. Well, I love you all too, and yes, I want to see Kelly too, who is on with us tomorrow morning, I believe. Right? Kelly's with us on tomorrow's, or is it Sundays?
No, she doesn't do Sundays with me.
Oh, yeah. I think it's tomorrow.
It has to be tomorrow.
Yeah, it must be. So tomorrow you will get all of us, and I can't wait to see you all bright and early over on Zara's Twitch channel. Thank you all for being with us. Everybody stay healthy and well, and we'll see you soon. Bye, everybody.